Ike, it's not every day I get to talk to you and your boots on the ground in
Right.
Latrobe, Pennsylvania, in training camp for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome in. I'm Mark Bergin. He's Ike Taylor. IT, I see that you're in your room this morning. So good to see you and really excited to talk to you on today's episode of the Bleav Steelers show.
Yeah, Mark, I haven't talked to my dog in a minute. Just sitting in the dorm room, call it dorm life, the twin beds or whatever. But it's just fun. Like we were talking before we got on the show, just when you come to training camp, it's just like all ball, no TV, no nothing. Meetings, working out, lose track of days, lose track of time. So it's kind of, I ain't gonna say it's really refreshing for me right now, Mark.
Yeah, the disconnect. It's funny because I was texting you of, hey, when you want to record this week? And it's like, I just send you the time and date, you put it in your phone, and then you're all the way from the outside world, like, and what's been
Right.
an awesome summer for you with all of your travels as well. But it's good to see you. And you're at training camp. And I wanted to start out kind of open-ended to say, hey, what stuck out to you? We'll go to an offensive player and a defensive player, but I know you got there. What was it last week? You got there a little bit late because I know you've been on the
Right.
recruiting trail with your
Right.
son, Ivan Taylor.
Yeah, I would say probably Kenny Pickett. Kenny,
Wow.
from it's night and day from last year to where he's at now, from like his read progressions, to his decisiveness, to his natural leadership, to his ball placement, so that's what I'm looking at with Kenny. I'm like, golly, like them 4 years in college really do matter, from a maturity standpoint, on and off the field, Mark. So I'm just gonna go with Kenny, man. I'm really liking what Kenny is doing. He's taking command of this offense.
Like, you make this easy on me because I was going to ask about him to say, have you noticed a difference between year one and year
Big
two?
time, big time, Mark. Like a huge leap. Like nothing. Um, he's just an even kill kind of quarterback, but that's just his personality. Like he's not rattled about nothing, Mark. So that's on and off the field as well. So, to play quarterback in the NFL, you gotta be a smooth criminal, so say. And that's exactly what Kenny Pickett is, man. Kenny just he go about his business, handling his business, getting better, understanding what it is to be a leader, a general on a football team. And you can tell, Mark, from last year to this offseason, it's major leaps and bounds.
Is it a body language thing, Ike?
No, it's just a maturity level. So I really think, just my personal opinion, Mark, I really think staying 4 years in college really did help this man. Not and let alone, don't forget, he's already a cold weather baby. He's from New Jersey, came to the University of Pitt, already understood what it was to be in the city of 412, became a Yenza and get drafted by the same team that right next door to your college. So he didn't see Big Ben. He didn't heard the history. He didn't see guys go in and out that facility. He understand the tradition. He know the legacy, what it is. So it's like, man, for you to actually, get drafted by an organization, and I went to college in the same city, man, that's a storybook telling. Even the producer couldn't produce that. So he just know what it is and to understand what it is to play in cold weather. And that's what guys really don't understand. You always get, as an organization, you always get quarterbacks, who know how to play in the cold. And just, Kenny, he was born in the cold, west coast of PA, really on the east coast, came to Pitt, stayed in Pitt for 4 years, and wind up getting drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you just really see the maturity level, on and off. Just got married this offseason. So it's a lot of maturity. It's everything you're looking for a quarterback. You want your quarterback to be clean cut, shave, make good decisions, because that quarterback is the face of the franchise. And that's just Kenny by nature. Mark, he ain't even trying to. That's just something he do. So, you know, as a CEO, man, you feel good about going to bed at night knowing your head man ain't gonna make no bad decisions. You know, so that's what I love about Kenny.
Kenny Pickett, you've got University of Pittsburgh, former quarterback, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, husband, and cold weather baby. Ike, we've got to
Right,
update his social
right,
media
right.
profiles.
Yeah, that when you know when they look on the profile, And if Kenny listening to the show, he need to edit to what we just said right now because he's all of the above.
Absolutely, Ike. And you, in all seriousness, you mentioned the face of the franchise, the CEO.
Right.
I just watched the Netflix Johnny Manziel documentary, and
Right.
he even says this at one point. I was live tweeting as I was watching it last night, Ike. And this is something where, in terms of being the face of the franchise, the CEO, someone who the accountability starts with me, and then that's contagious to your teammates. It looks like the Steelers have one. With Manziel, that was never going to be the case when, his agent is saying, hey, he didn't watch a second of film during his time in Cleveland. And it's funny just because I watched that last night and I hear that, you talk about Kenny Pickett and it's just like, look, it's not to compare Johnny Manziel, but it's, a facet of quarterbacking in the NFL and what it takes to achieve success. You've told me that from day one on this show is when you're the quarterback, those are the responsibilities that come with it beyond just, hey, can you make the throw? Can you make the play? Can you there's a lot more to the quarterbacking position than just the physical abilities, Ike.
I mean, the physical abilities is going to be the physical abilities, right? Because you've been playing, quarterback for a while since you were small, probably. But, I mean, the maturity level is everything, Mark. I'm putting this organization, as a CEO, if I was a CEO, I'm putting this organization in the hands of who? So you really got to do your research when it comes down to drafting, especially high, in the first round with these quarterbacks. Because, man, if not, man, you set your organization back 4 to 5 years when you do things like this. So Pittsburgh hit on Kenny Pickett. They did all their research, and their research team didn't have to go far. All they did have to take 14 steps, open the pit, Panthers door, and go right upstairs. So they did everything they needed to do, and they wound up getting the right one in my mind, Mark.
I will transition to the defensive side of the ball in just a second. We'll tell our listeners and viewers about Betonline.ag, today's presenting sponsor of the show. You can see their logo on the top corner of your screen right now. And if you have a bet on any of the NFL action, preseason's right around the corner. It's actually here this week. Go to betonline.ag, use our promo code Bleav.
365, 24/7, whatever sport it is, whatever time you want to bet. Make sure y'all go to betonline.ag.
And with that promo code BLEAV, you'll receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. I want to go back to training camp, though. So we mentioned the offensive side with the development of Kenny Pickett. Defensively, is there a player in your mind that stuck out since you've been boots on the ground in training camp?
Minkah hasn't been here for a couple of days. He had some issues he had to deal with. But the magic of Minkah, when he comes back, what he brings to the table. And I'm really studying Minkah right now because of Ivan, my son. So I told Ivan, man, we really got to watch a lot of tape on Minkah because I'm really seeing what he doing live in person. He makes everything calm back there. And what I mean back there on the whole defense. So from the linebackers, don't worry about the front folk because Cam gonna take care of that. Outside linebackers, you got TJ and Alex. But we got a few new pairs of inside linebackers, and when Minkah wasn't here, everything was cool. Everybody was professional. But when Minkah came back, it's just like a calming presence. And I was like, golly. I mean, you could tell from the offensive guys, the wide receivers, everybody knew Minkah was back. So they had to be on their P's and Q's. So that's what I'm looking at Minkah like, man, and just listening to him talk, not only on the field and able to anticipate Mark, but even when he's not in, he's making calls, he's helping young guys, he's talking to himself, he's reading the plays. So I'm like, okay, this why this dude's so special. And then when he get in for his reps, he never panics. It's like drinking tea. You drink a certain tea makes you calm. It's like, dang, that's that Minkah effect right there. So just looking at Minkah, man, and seeing how he move, anticipates, never use it. We call it wasted energy. And for Minkah, he ain't wasting no part. Like his anticipation, his football IQ, Coach T like to call above the neck. His above the neck football IQ is just it's unreal. So that's why I see why he's been hitting these all pros, why these scouts and executives and these players been calling him the number one safety in the league.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes about the Steelers franchise because I didn't even realize he was gone. That it's like, oh, he returns for an
Right.
excused absence, and it was like, wow, okay, totally understandable. You got to take care of your family, and I expect another big season from him. Do you
Right.
notice that the front seven can play more aggressively in a different style because they have the peace of mind knowing he's back there to cover the back end of the defense? If I want to play more aggressively up front, or I want to shoot a gap that I'm not normally supposed to. When you say he's calm back there and he helps the other defensive players, what do you mean by that, Ike?
It's almost like a cheat code, Mark. It's like, if I mess up, I know Minkah got my back. So it's Minkah and the front seven. I mean, from the linebackers on back to the secondary guys.
Okay.
So yeah. So for corner or linebackers, it's like you might have an old moment, and then Minkah just come save the day, because that's just what Minkah do. So when Minkah is back there, uh, you as a player is more relaxed. It's like having Troy. Like, man, if I need a play, I know somebody. I know Troy gonna make a play. If I need a play, I know Minkah gonna make a play. Man, if I mess up one time, I know Minkah gonna have my back. And it's just it's just that kind of feeling. Is just what I see. So, the calming part, what I'm talking about, Mark, is understanding when you see when Minkah is on the field, it's like, dang, man, I hate to say this, because I know it's not a lot of pressure on Minkah, but you just see, like, when Minkah is on that field, guys are very much more confident and very much more relaxed because of what he is, and that's an all-pro safety.
One Ike Taylor looks pretty relaxed in this picture. Are
You
you
feel
two
me?
exchanging words here? Like, what's going on here when you and Minkah are just chilling on the sidelines? You having a conversation like we are right now, or are you just kind of taking it all in? What's going on?
Nah, Minkah and I, man, we talk about a little bit of everything, football, a little bit of life, but mostly it's just like football on the field. So I ask him what he's seeing, what he's not seeing, what the hell he thinking, So just picking his brain, to be honest with you. But he's just Mr. Consistent. Mark, you know what you're gonna get out of Minkah was that a play or two. Whether it's
Mhm.
game winning or whether if the Pittsburgh Steelers need one, we need one. You know what you're getting out of Minkah. So uh the dude just we went all in to get him a couple of years ago, and since we went all in, he's been nothing but a blessing to the organization. Pro Bowls all day since he stepped. Um, Used to be Hines, but now it's Acrisure Stadium. Since he stepped on Acrisure Stadium, man, Minkah has just blessed the Pittsburgh Steelers with all his playmaking ability.
Yeah, I hope the front seven can remain stout, Ike, because we saw in that 2021 season when he led the team in tackles, he's capable of doing it. But as a center fielder, as a ball hawk, that's when he's at his best, causing turnovers. And certainly he got back to that last
Right,
season.
right.
And that's something where that wasn't really even in his control the year before in 2021 when the others couldn't stop the run. And so they needed him to make plays in the box. And I just know that his abilities as a safety, I mean, he can do both, but he's best when, and it's amazing too, because I think about it from this standpoint. Like, he's demonstrated this ability to do this enough as an all pro safety that opposing teams, I promise you, game plan for him. And he still is making plays and still causing turnovers. And it's the turnover creation because you win the turnover battle. This isn't a news flash. Like, more often than not, you're going to win football games.
Yeah, you high percentage when you win a turnover battle. Minkah just, I mean, Minkah just reminds me of Troy. To be honest with you, just a different form
Yeah.
of Troy. Troy was that wild Tarzan Tasmanian devil back there, just making plays, whether it was one hand catches 50 yards down the field against Tennessee, or whether he just coming up and jumping over the center against Cincinnati, timing the snap. So Troy did something amazing. Like golly, like heck. How we look at George Pickens and seeing all these crazy acrobatic catches. That's how Troy was. But on the defensive side, you just looked at Troy like, man, how in the heck you do this? Same way with Minkah, you know. Not as acrobatic as Troy and George, who I just named, but the consistency. He's a closer. Like Minkah is a real live closer. You know, if you like baseball, man, you bring in the closing pitcher, and there go your 8 strikeouts that fast. From the seventh all the way to the ninth or whatever. If we're
Yep.
going longer than that, and that's Minkah, man. Minkah just he's gonna make a play. He's gonna close a game out for you. He
The-
did it. He did it against Atlanta last year.
You're in my
Closed them
brain,
out.
Ike.
I feel you. He did it against Atlanta last year, so that's just what he do. So
You mentioned Atlanta and then the Bengals game in the
in the
opening week of
Bengal
the
game,
season too, where it's
I
just
mean, he
like
won that game on his own. Minkah won
straight
that
up.
game because I think he had a pick six, a block punt, a block field goal, and something else. Like Minkah had a trifecta that game, so Minkah won that game single-handedly by himself.
Ike, we'll go to the depth chart. Steelers come out
Hmm.
with the depth chart. I'd imagine it's going to change somewhat between now and week 1, now and say week 4. Few things I noticed. No rookie starters, at least to start out. I'm okay with this because for as high of expectations we have with this rookie class, Ike,
Right.
they're still rookies. They still have a
Yeah.
lot to
Yeah.
learn in this league. So this is something I'm okay with because take Broderick Jones, for example, at the left tackle position in the competition with Dan Moore. Broderick
Right.
Jones lists as the second stringer right now. He's got to learn from the veterans he's going to go up against in camp, whether it's TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Marcus Golden. I know Golden's been working with him. But I look at the schedule. Week 1, you've got one of the Bosa brothers. Week 2, you've got Myles Garrett. Week 3, Max Crosby. Do you want to really send a rookie right from the frying pan right into the fire? If he's ready, cool. Let's roll. He's the starter. If not, Dan Moore Jr. can be there when Broderick Jones is ready. Then you can bring him in. You can move Dan Moore Jr. around if you want to. It provides that flexibility. So, like, that's one example where with no rookie starters, at first it was like, this is a little head scratching. But then the more you actually think about it of what that actually means, the more sense it makes.
Yeah. I mean, Dan hasn't done nothing to lose the job. We'll see what Dan do on Friday. Before, like from what I see, Dan hasn't done anything to lose it. Broderick is getting better every day, though. I mean, he really is. And just talking to Broderick, the technique part, and that's all it really is. Once you get to this level, who's going to be technically sound every play? The good ones who you just named, the Bosas, the Garretts, the coming off the edge. We talking about all pros, man. Them guys, they playmakers. They all pro guys. So that's a lot to ask for a rookie. Um, if that rookie isn't ready, especially from a technical standpoint, the athleticism is all there. You can just see that it's all the way there. But when it comes down to that technical side, these veteran guys, these defensive coordinators, they're gonna try you. So if you got a rookie offensive tackle, especially on the left side, they're game planning. And I'm putting my best rusher right on that side to see if he can handle this pressure. I know I would if I was a DC. But Broderick, uh, he's another one. I wouldn't be surprised if he squeezed in that lineup sooner than later. And I respect the guys who all pros been in the league, coming off that edge and making their plays and making their money and game changing plays and all that. But I'm telling you, Mark, I wouldn't be surprised um, if Broderick cracked that lineup sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So, and I know Joey Porter Jr. is working with Pat Pete. I see pictures and videos
Hmm.
almost every day from afar. I noticed as well, inside linebacker position, Kwon Alexander listed behind Cole Holcomb and Elandon Roberts. And this to me, Ike, is as simple as Mike T's slogan. 2 dogs, 1 bone. So the best of this competition is going to bring out the best in all of them. And in your base 3-4 defense, you'll have 2 inside linebackers. But I also thought this was interesting when they brought Kwon Alexander in. Ike, yes, he played in all 17 games last season. He's had injury history in the past before the 2022 season. But also, don't forget, Cole Holcomb and Elandon Roberts were captains of their respective teams. Holcomb had the green dot on his helmet in Washington too, meaning he handled the defensive communications. So the competition bringing out the best in one of these right now. And again, right now, we've got the starters as Holcomb and Roberts. That was something else that also stuck out just looking at this depth chart.
Getting back to exactly what you need at that inside linebacker position, you need a general and you need a bully. You need some guys who won't come downhill and just make it hard on life for the opposing team offense. You need tone setters. So that's exactly what E-Rob, Kwon, and Holcomb bring to the table. You know, some general guys, some real good instincts, especially with E-Rob and Kwon, guys who are athletic guys who done had that green dot on the back of their helmet. You got that green dot on the back of your helmet, that means you're a leader of men. The pressure isn't nothing to you. You embrace it. You get everybody lined up, everybody looking around to see what you're going to call, you know. So when I see that green dot, Holcomb had a green dot, E-Rob for sure had that green dot, Kwon is just a thumper. So I'm looking at, you know, thumpers. I'm looking at tone setters. I'm looking at guys who won't be bullies when it come down to playing on that field. I'm looking at guys who are instinctive. So when it comes down to that, man, I feel like we're just back to those kind of guys sitting in the inside of that linebacker position. So it's just good. It's just good to see. I was talking to E-Rob. It's crazy you said that, Mark. I talked to E-Rob for like an hour and a half yesterday. We were just talking about football. We were talking about Larry Foote and James Ferry and Lawrence Timmons and Vince Williams, you know, and those guys. So he wanted to know. You know, E-Rob asked a lot of whys, you know, and what you think and how was it. So it was fun to talk to him, and that was all after meetings. But yeah, that inside linebacker position, I think this year is going to give us exactly what we've been looking for. Some generals, some guys who want to hurt other guys in a major way on the opposite side, and tone setters.
Like, I love that. I love that. To DBs, Chandon Sullivan is listed as the team's nickelback. Ike, you've been boots on the ground there as a former corner yourself. What have you seen from him on the field? Because this was one starter where it's like, honestly, I try to provide as much insight as I can on the show. I just don't know a lot about him. What have you seen from Chandon Sullivan?
Just consistency, just knowing how to be a professional, like in the middle of the road kind of guy. Like he Sullivan know, like, okay, I got an opportunity right here, but this opportunity is major for me. You know, this can make or break. So when you got guys, and what I mean by in the middle of the road, who's played but who hasn't played that much, they have veteran snaps on the field. But it's just when you come to this organization, Mark, it just changed your whole life. And I'm just speaking. I'm gonna speak for Sullivan and Pat Pete. And you know, them two guys say, man, just coming to Pittsburgh, like, and playing for Coach T and seeing how the organization treat their players, like, this is exactly where you want to be. So maybe you might have some outside pressure. You might not like the coaching from a team you was formerly on, but you come here, it's just like a breath of fresh air. You know, I can finally be me, and to see Sullivan doing what he's doing, it just looked like from watching this old tape to this year, Mark, he's just finally coming around to be him. You know, so he's out there making plays as well.
It seems to me with how the Steelers defense is structured that the nickelback position is a very important one.
Right.
And I look at the two predecessors of Cam Sutton, who just got paid this offseason, the guy who made a lot of plays the last season or two.
Yep.
And then Mike Hilton, our guy who's now done his thing and continued to do his thing in Cincinnati, Ike.
Right.
So I look at it from that standpoint when you talk about that opportunity of, okay, who's been in that role and what have they done in previous seasons? And if you're worth your salt, I mean, both of those players said, hey, I'm going to go get a big paycheck from another team. That's where that opportunity lies, at least in my opinion, at that nickelback position for the Steelers defense.
Yeah, I mean, them guys fighting for a spot for that nickel, because heck, Pete can play nickel, Minkah can play nickel, DeMonte Casey can play nickel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a few guys. So these guys gonna have the opportunity to play this nickel position. Because if not, you can slide Pete already up in there. Minkah can play. Hell, Minkah was playing outside linebacker in Miami, so you already know what he can do. He was back. Now he's back to the position where he's back, and that's free safety. So mess around if you want to, and and play around with your time and your reps. I know for sure. If I was a DC, worst case scenario, Pete, and Minkah, hey, let me come holler at y'all right quick. So these guys doing exactly what they need to do, though. Sutherland doing what he need to do for that nickel position, which I think is one of the hardest positions to play on defense, because you got to work from the inside out. Not only you got to cover third receivers, tight ends, running backs coming out of the backfield, but you also got to set a defense. And by the way, man, I got to come up and be the third outside linebacker on these tackles. So I think that's the toughest position to play. But we got guys who built for it. But Sullivan definitely handled his business. We shall see on Friday when we play Tampa.
I love it. A few other things with the depth chart really quickly. Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey listed as co-starters at strong safety. Casey, I know, he's in a walking boot of some sort. Hopefully he's ready to go week one.
Right.
I know Neal had some sort of undisclosed injury too. I'd imagine he'll be back at some point. Special teams as well. Like Calvin Austin III listed ahead of Gunnar Olszewski as a return man, both punt returner, kick returner. Pressley Harvin right now holding off Braden Mann at the punter position. That's something also I would look at on Friday to see if you can make any upgrades there. Saw Kendrick Green not listed as a fullback either. I know the Steelers have had some fun with him in training camp, with him as a lead blocker, getting him the ball in the flats.
Right.
I'm a little bit wary, Ike. This is just from afar. I'm not boots on the ground. I'm wary in terms of, is this just a training camp gimmick to put a smile on everyone's face, or is this something that the Steelers could actually do with Kendrick Green? I'm wary. Just my opinion, though.
Nah, it ain't messing around. You gotta say that for the playbook for later. We'll talk about this in the playoffs.
All right.
Watch what I tell you.
Whoa.
Okay. That's in the playoff. I mean, that's in the playbook for later. We just tapping to see. We just moving the pieces around to see what we can do.
All right, Ike, we will move on. I saw Cam Hayward put this out on Twitter, and let me pull this up really quickly.
All right.
Just a second as I move things around there. You can see on your screen right now, guilty pleasure during Steelers training camp, watching Jersey Shore during downtime. So what I wanted to ask you, Ike, I know you played a lot of video games during your time in Latrobe as a player, but did you have a guilty pleasure outside of just FIFA or NHL or Madden or Halo or Call of Duty? What was your guilty pleasure during training camp?
Yeah, really. Yeah, it was FIFA. It was we did FIFA tournaments. We did Madden tournaments. We played cards, and I ain't gonna say that, but yeah. I have some.
Okay, so there is a story there.
Yeah. It was some guilty pleasures for sure, but yeah, Mark. FIFA, Call of Duty. I'm talking about tournaments, like FIFA tournaments, Call of Duty tournaments, card games, for sure. Oh, and we had back in the day, we had the remote, the gas remote control trucks. So we had the trucks. We used to do the race trucks, so we had the trucks. Like 78, between 70 and 80 miles per hour. I'm talking about trucks, little small remote control trucks that might cost you 17 grand, Mark. So yeah, that's we was doing them. We was doing them kind of, but it was all like competing. So it wasn't really guilty pleasures. Guilty pleasures was probably more from my standpoint, food, probably indulging in a snack or something. But other than that, it was all about competing when I was here.
Yeah, Ike, that and doing crunches in the bathroom, when you and Troy meet for the very first time too. So don't forget that either. I can't even imagine the pranks that you guys pulled on one another too. You mentioned the remote control cars, and it's like the possibilities there alone, I think, would just be absolutely hilarious.
No, we see back in the day we ain't prank each other because we was all about that. The competition was so heavy. Ain't nobody want to cheat nobody, So it was for real. It was authentic back in the day, Mark. We ain't want to prank nobody. That was a straight fight, Especially if we got money on the line. We got money on the line, man. I ain't prank. I need the playing field to be even as possible. Don't be pranking me. So that's how it was when we was playing, But pranking, we weren't really doing no pranks, Mark. I'm gonna be honest with you. We was fight. We had too many. We had too many fights without pranks, just in general in training
Mm.
camp. Let alone somebody trying to prank you. So that's how it was. But honestly, we just respected each other, Mark, so much. We ain't had time. We ain't even think about pranking each other. Competition was at its highest. Either it was in your room or going against, somebody on the other side, and I was telling E-Rob this yesterday, like, man, training camp for us, Mark, like, even the coaches was getting into it. They was betting against each other. That goal line, when Coach T or Coach Cowell said goal line, I'm talking about coaches from an offense and a defensive standpoint. I'm talking about laying it all on the line. So if you got one of your coaches talking smack to another coach on the offensive side, I'm talking about real live smack. When somebody like really mean what they saying, like,
Hmm.
I guarantee you ain't none of y'all receivers gonna be effing with my DBs today. And then you got the receiver, the offensive coordinator be like, man, F your DBs. And they really mean it. It's like, okay, this what kind of day it's gonna be. This what kind of day it's gonna be. So back in the day, Mark, the competitive atmosphere was so unreal. Like, when these coaches said they wanted to make practice as hard as games, they wasn't lying, and we took that serious.
So the 7 shots that existed even during the Cowher tenure, and is that something Mike Tomlin just adopted? Did you call it
Now
something
everybody,
different, or?
everybody and their mama. So 7 shots been going on for years since football been around. And 7 shots is this is how you start practice off. You start practice off on the 3 yard line, and we're going live.
That's how you're
So when
starting practice. I
that's
love
how
it.
we that's how we because somebody got to set the tempo. Even the offense
Mm.
gonna score or the defense gonna stop it from scoring. So 7 shots is setting that tempo. The rules changed with Coach Kyle. We did that twice a week, mean twice a day. That's our coach. With the 2 a days back in the day, that's exactly what Coach Kyle was doing. Y'all know what we doing, man. It's already understanding. Yeah, we hitting 7 shots twice a day, every day while we're here. So let's put our helmets on, strap them up real tight, and let's go. So it just set the tone. And when you walked on the field, that's all you knew. When we played opposing teams, that's all we knew was 7 shots. So picture you playing a team that always got a goal line mentality on defense. that's how that's how we looked at it. So everybody was coming downhill from the safeties to the corners. You already know the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers linebackers to the D line. And all that started in practice with the 7 shots.
Incredible. Incredible. Like, I know you've got the story of you trying to give Jerome Bettis your best too, and everything too, from back when
Right,
you were a rookie and
right,
everything too,
right,
with all of that too. So,
right.
Ike, let's wrap the show. You've Friday, Steelers
Mm,
Bucs is going to be down in Tampa, Raymond James Stadium.
right.
What I'm going to look at is so it's hard because I'm not exactly sure who's all going to play. I'd imagine more of the starters will get in during the second of 3 preseason games.
Mm,
But I'm looking at a few things. I mentioned the punters earlier, but also I'll go with the running back position. What I mean by this is, you've got Najee, you've got Jalen Warren. Who's going to be the
mm,
third guy? Is it going to be
mm,
Anthony McFarland to step up? Remember, Alfonso Graham's on IR now. So you've
mm,
got Darius Hagans is listed as the 4th stringer, at least on the current depth chart. Greg Bell, John
mm,
Lovett as well. in the mix there. Who steps up there? And for me, it's okay, what can you do with the ball in your hands? What can you do from a special team standpoint as well? Because that is a role Benny Snell played for years. With the Steelers team, he's now no longer on the roster. So the third running back position, Ike, at least on Friday night for the first game, where we're not sure who's all going to play when it comes to starters, a lot of the players on the 53-man roster, I'm going to look at the running back position on Friday night.
For me, since last year was my first day officially, last year was my first year officially in the front office, it's the draft picks. So I would just like to see exactly how the draft picks respond and act, walking them into the NFL on Friday. So, that's what I want to see coming from a front office standpoint. Those guys have been playing football all their life, and those guys, guys who are playing right now in training camp, it's just the consistency part, Mark. That's all. But I really do, since I got into the front office, I really do want to see what the draft picks do. Because you had a little piece, you had your hand in the pot when it came down to drafting some of these guys. So you want to sit back and see what your so-say kid is doing. How your kid is growing up in 3 weeks.
Ike, a quick story for you. So last year, before the start of the football season in North Carolina, where I'm at, they had a high school jamboree. And so after each of the scrimmages, it was the week before the regular season started, I asked one of the players, what's it like to finally hit a player on an opposing team and not one of your teammates in practice? And this kid gave me the best response. He goes, "It's like holy water, baby." Those were his exact words. So I can't even imagine what that's like come Friday when the Steelers actually play the Buccaneers and it's not someone you're lined up day after day after day after day in training camp.
Yeah, so it's just like, let me release some of this frustration on somebody else. It's just like having a sparring partner. I've been sparring my partner for 3 weeks, man. When y'all gonna actually let me go out there and fight somebody, So that's how I look at it, and that's what I'm sure these guys are ready for. Coach T really gonna go back to one of his first homes in Tampa. He had a lot of success in Tampa. He had success as a defensive secondary coach, putting on a gold jacket for one of his players, and Rondé Barber, winning the Super Bowl in Tampa against the Arizona Cardinals, and Coach T just had a lot of success. Yeah, so, and going back to Tampa for the preseason. So that's like his second home, if you want to say, him doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to go down in Tampa. Mark, I will be there.
Okay, so you're going to be in Florida, and then I know on Saturday night you'll be back in Pittsburgh, 412 Celebrity Night, Pittsburgh Riverhounds Soccer Club against Hartford Athletic. Again, that's Saturday night, and I'll make sure all this information gets in the show notes as far as the social media information too. So, Ike on the road again. I'm convinced you're cloned at this point, my man.
Just staying busy. I wouldn't want it any other way. I love football. You love football. I'm in a position where I can just be around football, professional football, for as long as I handle my business. And it's just opening a lot of doors on the other side, So me playing football, me having success, winning Super Bowls, bringing them to the city of Pittsburgh, that's on a whole nother level. How many people can, go from playing to hitting the front office, So I really feel like I'm one of the few in the world, so I take none for granted. And just always being in the city of Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I'll be at the 412 Celebrity Night on Saturday at the Pittsburgh Rivers game. Make sure anybody there. If you want to see the Pittsburgh, come down to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Club. It's right when you get through the tunnel. So you get through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, you're going to see the stadium to your right as soon as you get out. So come check us out Saturday between 5 and 8. It's 412 Celebrity Night. So as soon as the game is over with, I'm going to catch a flight, come right back to Pittsburgh, and show some love, because that's all Pittsburgh been showing me is nothing but love.
Yeah, I can mention cloning. Either that or you've got the whole time travel thing figured out because you were everywhere. So check Ike out Saturday night. And Can't wait. I mean, Tampa's got to be a special place for you too, Friday night, because like you won a Super Bowl there. So, and you're not too far down the road when you're back home in Orlando. So,
at all, ain't too far at all, Mark. So that's perfect for me. That's right down the street. But with all this, I-4 construction they got going on, they make an hour drive. An hour and 57-minute drive. So
you might be able to get down to Tampa faster from Pittsburgh, from Pennsylvania, than you could from Orlando. I swear, I-4 there will always be construction on I-4.
Always, Mark, for real.
Ike, you're the absolute best. I want to thank you, the Bleav Network, today's presenting sponsor, Betonline.ag.
Right.
Football season's almost here. I also want to thank the listeners and the viewers. Thank you so much for your words of encouragement, your support, Ike. I'll also say this too. Our last guest, Dave Damashek, we had an average watch time of 24 minutes. So thank you to people who spend time and take the time to watch us week in and week out. It's something that I genuinely appreciate. Approaching those 3,000 subscribers too, Ike. I want to get to 3K before the start of the 2023 regular season. That is my goal.
I want to give a huge shout out to the Bleav Steelers Network for sure. Got to give a shout out to my dog, Mark Bergin. Appreciate everybody for just tuning in and spending time with us, putting us into y'all life, listening to our show. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Got to thank Betonline.ag for just rocking with us since day one. Without them, I don't even know if this would be a show. But make sure y'all subscribe to Mark and I. Keep tuning in. We're trying to hit 3K. After 3, let's go to 20. So make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. If y'all want to know anything about football and some insight with a little bit of entertainment, tune in to Ike Taylor and Mark Bergin.
A lot of guests coming up in the coming weeks, especially between now and the start of the 2023 season. Enjoy Steelers, Buccaneers, Friday night. We'll be back the following week recapping that. More training camp as well. For Ike Taylor, I'm Mark Bergin. Thanks for watching the Bleav in Steelers show. We'll see you next time. Till then, take care. So long, everybody.
Peace.